Joining us on the line, World Series champion, Mr. Terry Francona. Terry, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. How you doing?
Doing great. How's the golf? You get a practice round in?
I got 2 practice rounds in. We played yesterday and today. My golf game is below average, and that's probably being a little bit kind.
I always tell my kids I'm just going out for a nice hike in the outdoors when I go to play golf, because it's more therapeutic than anything, you know.
If that's the case, if it's a hike, I'm on a long hike because I see every nook and cranny of the course.
Yeah,
that's good. You see new stuff that way.
Yes,
Animals,
I do.
Birds.
Check out the creek, the ravines, all different types. Yeah, there is the public course we play. There's this guy that like digs around, in the ravine area, pulling out finding loose balls. And I feel like I became friends with him because I was always hanging out in the same area. Like, hey, Chuck, what's happening? So very exciting. The celebrity golf. Do you have any sort of expectations coming into an event like this?
My expectations are that I don't mess up the pro that I'm playing with. Fortunately, tomorrow I'm paired with Billy Andrade, who happens to be one of my really good friends. In fact, when they came out to play in Tucson, he and Zig, his caddy, stayed at my house. So my biggest goal tomorrow is to cheer for him and have him shoot like 7 or 8 under par and not get in his way.
Be the good shot guy. Great shot. Good shot.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Pat him on the back and I'll be good to go.
I love it. Yeah. Talking a little baseball here, going back for you, you won the College World Series most outstanding player. We've been covering a lot of the College World Series on our network. I think the game, in particular, college has been growing. What was that experience like playing the College World Series, and what do you make of the growth of the game so far?
Anytime you can say you're the best, when you win, whether it's college, minor league baseball, major league baseball, that's what's important. It's wherever you are. And, you go through school with guys and you live with them and you're almost like family. And it was a wonderful experience. The people in Omaha, they put on such a good show, and they filled the stadium. And it's just a great atmosphere, and it's only getting better. They're doing a really good job with it.
No, it's been really cool. I feel like, especially these past couple of years, ESPN has been broadcasting more of the games. It used to just be, hey, you would just see the World Series. Now I feel like you see the whole tournament, and sports fans love tournament. I mean, we learned that through college basketball, so it's cool to see baseball getting a nice renaissance as well.
I agree with you. And the more exposure, the better for the game. And with, like you say, with ESPN and all these outlets now and all the interest, you're seeing much more exposure. And I think it's helping grow in our game.
Well, and college has that built-in fanatic where there's these huge fan bases that the second you feed them baseball as the third option after football and basketball, they're very interested. And then you tell them there's this crazy event that happens in Omaha where people bring their campers and their RVs and they just hang out for a couple weeks and watch baseball. I mean, it feels like the kind of thing that can fill this void in the summer.
And if you're anything like the University of Arizona, where the stadium now is off campus, so they can serve beer. Which
come on,
bring probably an extra 1,000 people to the games.
Yeah, need a couple of refreshments there for sure.
So you mentioned just the thrill of winning a championship at any level. Sean mentioned the World Series. We just talked about the College World Series, but fewer know that you were a Southern League champion in 1993. The year before Michael Jordan joined your Birmingham AA team. And what was that experience like? Just winning a championship at the lower level like that, it kind of brought you a bunch of notoriety. And then to have Michael Jordan then join the team the next year must have been a crazy roller coaster.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Like I was telling you, wherever you are, when you win, that's what's important. And I enjoyed AA, college, Boston Red Sox, all the same. The money was a little bit better in Boston, but the enjoyment, the fulfillment is always the same, and it's wonderful. When MJ came there, my life changed dramatically. And I didn't know it at the time because I was just trying to survive. But it was such a good learning experience. And Michael was so good. He was so respectful with the game and with the people in the game that it made it really easy to be patient with him because he hadn't been around the game that much and he had a lot to learn, but he enjoyed learning. He was like a big sponge and he just made it easy to be patient.
Yeah, I saw that you said that if given like 3 years to develop his game, you thought he would actually make it up to the major leagues, which is crazy, but I guess highlights his discipline and his natural athletic gifts.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. I learned quickly that when you tell Michael no, he's going to find a way to make the answer be yes. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't think it was fair until he got another couple years under his belt. But I really believe if he'd have stuck it out and played, he'd have found his way to the big leagues. He's just too much of a competitor not to.
No, I mean,
it almost must have felt like you guys were a band on tour with these like just larger than average crowds and just, these guys playing AA ball, all of a sudden getting a ton more exposure and maybe helping accelerate their maturity and helping them be a better ball player.
You know what? I actually agree with that. I think it was kind of fashionable to kind of say, oh, Michael's taking somebody's spot and, he shouldn't be. And it's anything but that. I mean, guys were getting more exposure than they ever did. We were playing in front of packed houses every night. It was like like you said, it was like a traveling circus. I mean, everywhere we went, it was like Nightline or Ted Koppel, or it was unbelievable, but it wasn't boring.
So one has to ask, did you ever find yourself on the bus late night with some of those dice games that have been rumored to take place?
We played every game imaginable, and it was always for money. But you got to remember now. I mean, I was a AA manager. I think I was making $28,000 that year, and had 4 kids. So
not a lot of bankroll wasn't pretty big then.
We weren't probably playing for the same stakes as he played with some other people, but it was still fun.
Yeah, little different stakes when you're playing with Charles Barkley, and then you go down to the AA minor league baseball. Probably different.
Just highlights how much he loved it.
Yeah,
the stakes didn't matter.
I mean, you saw it on the documentary. He's playing like quarters with the security guard, and he's getting fired up, and the security guard's talking smack. Like, just the competitive spirit of that guy.
It's unbelievable.
Awesome.
I've never seen. I mean, if you're playing in ping pong, he wanted to beat your brains out. It didn't matter. That's just the way he was wired.
Yeah, no, I mean that must have been an awesome experience. And your experience as a major league manager too. Like you managed in 3 of the like kind of most diehard sports towns in Philadelphia, Boston, and then Cleveland. What were those? How would you kind of compare those 3 cities? Because all 3 like live and die by their sports teams. All probably tons of pressure, big expectations.
Very blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar, kind of just similar Northeast vibe. I mean, Cleveland, I guess Midwest. But how are they similar? How are they different?
I've tried to explain to people. In Philadelphia, we weren't very good. And it's not an easy place to not be very good.
Oh, I know. Sorry, Terry.
And man, they love their team, but you better throw strike 1 or they're going to let you hear about it. In Boston, I've never seen a place where the fans know every player. Like a kid will get called up from AAA, and the majority of the people at the game already know who that kid is, which is kind of amazing. And then in Cleveland, you're right. It was very Midwest. I actually loved it. I lived 2 blocks from the ballpark. I'd ride a little moped to the ballpark. After the game, policemen would either high five you or tell you to keep your head up. And, people left you alone. It's just the people there. It's so Midwest. I just loved it.
Well, I mean, I don't want to beat around the bush anymore. I did grow up a Yankees fan. I do sometimes wonder what would have happened if they only kept Grady Little for a couple more seasons. Take us through the experience of the 3-0 comeback and just kind of what that meant. I mean, honestly, you saved a franchise, and you and that team are basically, you changed the world when it comes to me as a baseball fan. So what was that like? And and then following through with like a kind of easy championship.
Well, it's probably fortunate for me that we did win, or shoot, you'd probably be sitting here talking to Bobby Valentine now instead of myself. You know what? The last 4 days were probably the four funnest baseball days of my life. And I didn't wait for it to be over to say that. I enjoyed every minute of those games. I mean, I loved our guys. You know, we had dug ourselves a hole. And yeah, I was worried that, you know, if we make a mistake, we're going to go home. But it was just that group. I'm so fond of those guys. And when they got it going, man, they could play baseball. And it was, like I said, it was the four funnest days of my baseball life.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, did you feel almost like the pressure was off? The fact that you were down 0-3 and everyone wrote you off. Did you feel that at all?
No, not really, because you know, if you remember in Game 3, I think we lost by like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was what, it was like
And
16.
you know, back before they had redone Fenway, you had to take a golf cart up to the media availability after the game, and I was getting pelted with stuff. I was in a golf cart, and man, people were throwing stuff at me, and you know, yelling insults, and you know, and then shoot, a week later, and you could run for mayor. So it's kind of weird how it works. But no, it was a little rough there. It was rough going for a couple days.
You also, besides, you know, getting to manage some of these storied franchises, also got to manage some all-time characters in the world of baseball. I mean, you know, when I say the phrase Manny being Manny, what stories kind of come to mind?
Well, probably most of them I can't tell you unless this is really a cable affiliate, because
Feel free to cut loose.
you know
We're not a sensitive bunch here.
I try so hard to explain to people about Manny. He can be extremely endearing, and his teammates loved him most of the time. But when you're in charge of a team, and you're, like you say, you're in charge of getting people where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be, he could give you a headache sometimes. And you know, it's easy to laugh now because it's over, but at times it was difficult. But I'm going to tell you something. When he was in the batter's box, he was as good as anybody.
Yeah.
I would say again, as a Yankees fan, there is no one more terrifying than Manny. Even Ortiz or any Pedroia, any of them. He's just so smooth. Always kind of had that confidence and swagger where he like didn't hear the crowd and was going to do something with the ball. Sticking with that team though, I mean, you know, David Ortiz, gregarious personality, has had great success with some of the TV stuff, but Pedro Martinez, I mean, he seems like he was the absolute, in some ways, opposite of Manny Ramirez. And we talked about Jordan. It seems like Pedro had a little of that obsessive kind of determination. What was it like to manage him and watch? You know, I don't know, one of the greatest pitchers kind of operate in his peak.
You know, I think Pedro always had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, because I think from an early age, a lot of people had told me he wasn't big enough. You know, he wouldn't last. Well, that was certainly wrong. He had a photographic memory. He had long fingers. He could manipulate the baseball. I guarantee if you told him one game, hey, come make up a new pitch, he could do it. I mean, that's just the touch and the feel he had. It was incredible.
Yeah, I'm great. I sometimes wonder if only Grady Little didn't get fired and Terry didn't get the job.
Yeah, great. What if Terry been a manager again for you know, a storied career here? Is there a player that you think kind of flew under the radar that you, as a guy who got to see him day in day out, really appreciated that maybe fans have overlooked over the years?
Well, you know, I don't think this guy got overlooked, but I think, and I'm talking about Dustin Pedroia, I don't think he had any business being as good as he was. I mean, you know, I think he's 5'7", 170. He thought he was 6'7", 270. You know, he's an MVP, a rookie of the year. He kind of willed himself to be the kind of player he is. And I used to look at his body and think, I don't know if he can do it. And then he'd go out there and he'd be the best player on the field. And when the game was at its most important period, that's when he was the best player. It was unbelievable.
All that grit kind of ended up in a good city for him to be representative.
Yes,
of
I agree.
Now, as far as this season so far, Who do you like, Terry, winning it all? Who do you got winning it all?
I'm gonna tell you right now, Cleveland. Now that Cleveland's got a good manager, they're playing their ass off, man. I love the way they're playing. They got to keep their pitching healthy. They already lost Bieber, that doesn't help, but they really got it working. I love the Atlanta Braves. I think what the Atlanta Braves have done is remarkable. It's easy to pick the Dodgers. They're the easy pick because they're so good. But what the Braves have done is, I think they've built something they can sustain over years. And, they're bringing in crowds. They got the new stadium, but they're putting the money back in the team, and they're making really good decisions. And they're going to be a handful for quite a few years.
Yeah, no, it does feel like Braves are going to be a tough out in the NL. Terry, really appreciate you calling in, and best of luck with the golf this weekend.
Well, guys, I need that, but it was a pleasure talking to you. I enjoyed it, and have a great weekend. Okay.